Chosen one, this message is urgent, and it is not reaching you by accident. There are moments when Allah allows patience to stretch long, when silence becomes heavy, and when waiting feels endless. But then there comes a moment when Allah says no more delay. Today was not an ordinary day in your life. Something you did, something small, quiet, unseen by people but fully witnessed by the heavens, shifted the unseen world. An intention you corrected, a temptation you resisted, a word you swallowed, a dua you made with sincerity, or a step you took toward obedience when it was hardest. That was the final signal, and because of that, Allah did not wait any longer. What was held back has now been released, and it is moving faster than you expect. This blessing may arrive quietly at first, but it carries divine speed, protection, and purpose. Stay with me, because these lessons will reveal why Allah moved so quickly for you and how to protect what He just released. Chosen one, understand this truth deeply. Allah does not measure your life by the number of years you waited, but by the weight of the moment you obeyed Him when it mattered most. Because there comes a point where a single act of obedience outweighs a lifetime of struggle. And today that moment arrived for you. A moment when your heart wanted one thing but your faith chose another. When your ego was ready to speak but your soul chose silence. When you could have taken control but instead surrendered fully to Allah, and that instant carried a sincerity so pure that it pierced through the unseen like lightning. Because Allah loves obedience that costs you something, obedience that is not comfortable, obedience that is chosen while the heart is tired and the soul is tested. And it is in those moments that Allah says, "Now, years of waiting were not wasted, they were preparing you for this exact choice, this exact response, this exact alignment of intention and action." And when you chose Allah over reaction, trust over fear, discipline over desire, Allah responded with speed, because the Qur'an reminds us that Allah is swift in account and swift in reward when the heart is truthful. And what you unlocked was not delayed because of punishment, but because it required maturity, humility, and inner readiness. And today your obedience proved that you would not break under blessing, forget Allah in ease, or misuse what He gives. So Allah released what was held back, not slowly, not gradually, but decisively, because some doors only open when obedience is complete, and once that threshold is crossed, even years of stagnation collapse into a single moment of divine movement, and that is why things are shifting now quietly, rapidly, and permanently, because one sincere act done for Allah has just outweighed everything that came before it. Chosen one. This was the kind of test Allah does not announce, the kind that does not come with warnings or clear signs, because the most decisive tests are hidden inside ordinary moments where you think nothing significant is happening. Yet Allah is watching the heart closely, and today you were tested not in prayer or fasting alone, but in patience, restraint, sincerity, and trust. When you felt unseen, unappreciated, and uncertain, and you did not know it was the final measure of your readiness. Because final tests never feel dramatic. They feel exhausting, repetitive, and quietly unfair. And that is exactly why so many fail them. Yet you endured without turning bitter, without abandoning your adab, without blaming Allah, and without lowering your standards just to ease the pain. And in doing so, you proved something crucial, that your faith is not dependent on outcomes but rooted in conviction. And when Allah saw that you could remain steady even when clarity was withheld, He closed the chapter of testing, because Allah does not prolong trials once their purpose has been fulfilled. And the moment you chose patience without knowing it was being graded, obedience without expecting a reward, and trust without visible reassurance, Allah said, "That is enough." And what followed was not another delay, not another lesson in endurance, but permission for relief, permission for movement, permission for blessing to arrive quickly, because when the final test is passed, the waiting ends suddenly, and the shift feels unexpected, not because Allah was late, but because you were being prepared quietly, and now that preparation has reached completion, and the unseen has been instructed to move in your favor. Chosen one, Allah does not rush blessings into hearts that are still negotiating their sincerity, because increase without purity becomes a test more dangerous than lack. And for a long time, Allah was refining your niyyah through delay, disappointment, and unanswered questions, removing the need for recognition, the hunger for revenge, and the attachment to outcomes, until today, your intention finally stood clean before Him, no longer asking for relief to prove something to people, no longer seeking success to silence critics, no longer desiring elevation for ego or comparison, but wanting only what brings Allah's pleasure, protection, and closeness. And that moment of inner clarity triggered divine speed, because when intention aligns fully with obedience, Allah trusts the servant with immediate increase, knowing the blessing will not corrupt the heart, inflate pride, or distance you from remembrance. And this is why the shift happened suddenly, because purified intention acts like a key that opens doors without resistance. And Allah loves to give swiftly to those who will remain grateful, grounded, and God-conscious in ease just as they were in hardship. And what is being released now is not merely provision or opportunity, but barakah, growth that carries peace, expansion that carries stability, and increase that draws you closer to Allah rather than away from Him, because once your heart became safe for blessing, Allah no longer needed to delay. And when Allah decides the intention is ready, the reward does not trickle. It arrives with force, clarity, and divine precision. Chosen one, understand this with clarity and depth, because what you are about to realize is a truth that the majority of people overlook in their lives. There are moments when Allah does not merely listen to the sound of your voice, to the dua you raise, or the cries you make, but to the discipline of your restraint, to the patience you exhibit quietly, to the silence you bear for His sake, because silence, when chosen consciously as an act of obedience, carries a spiritual weight far heavier than words, far more powerful than speech, and far more profound than outward action. And what you did was not passive, it was active worship, a form of sabr so refined and so meticulous that it bypassed the realm of the audible entirely and went straight to the unseen, where Allah records every nuance of your heart, every restrained thought, every suppressed impulse, and every moment you chose dignity over reaction, because you were hurt deeply, yet you did not retaliate, misunderstood, yet you did not rush to explain yourself, provoked, yet you did not allow your tongue to betray the patience your heart had cultivated over years of quiet struggle and reflection. And that silence, though invisible to human eyes, was thunderous in the heavens, because Allah saw the storm raging inside you that you refused to release in anger, complaint, gossip, or bitterness, and instead, you handed it all over to Him silently, fully trusting that His justice is more precise than your defense, that His timing is more powerful than your reaction, and that His wisdom encompasses what you could never foresee. And the Qur'an reminds us that Allah knows what the hearts conceal, meaning that every swallowed word, every withheld argument, every restraint exercised in pain or injustice was recorded not as nothing, but as an act of profound worship, a sign of maturity that few achieve. And this is why your silence moved faster than your dua, because dua asks for outcome, whereas silence demonstrates surrender, and surrender creates a space for Allah to act decisively, to correct what cannot be corrected by words, and to shift unseen forces in ways that human effort could never orchestrate. And when you stayed quiet, even when every fiber of your being begged for retaliation, explanation, or validation, Allah took that silence as proof that your heart had reached a level of spiritual elevation, a place where ego no longer governs decision, fear no longer dictates reaction, and the soul is anchored in trust rather than impulse. And Allah loves when a servant achieves this level, where they would rather be misunderstood, disrespected, or misrepresented by people than compromise their adab, integrity, or obedience before Him, because the silence of the chosen is a declaration that their reliance is fully upon Allah, that their faith is sufficient, and that their destiny is secured not by human acknowledgement, but by divine witness. And this is why Allah stepped in on your behalf without delay, without announcement, without noise. because He saw that you were protecting your character, your heart, and your integrity even as your emotions threatened to overflow, and He does not allow such patience, such discipline, and such trust to go unrewarded. And what has been released now is not only relief, it is honor, not only ease, it is restoration, not only blessing, it is elevation, because Allah answers silence with action, restraint with acceleration, and patience with shifts so precise that no human strategy could ever achieve the same outcome. And this silence also shielded you from sins that would have diminished your reward: backbiting, arrogance, emotional overreaction, or subtle disobedience. And so, Allah rewarded you not just for what you endured, but for what you avoided, which is a reward layered, unseen, and immeasurable. And that is why the blessings moving toward you carry speed, barakah, and divine timing, because they were triggered not by demand, not by desperation, not by loud dua, but by the discipline of restraint, by the purity of intention, by trust, and by total surrender. And moving forward, understand this clearly. When Allah begins responding to your silence, it is a sign that you have reached a new spiritual stage, a stage where your character negotiates outcomes, your faith governs situations, and your Lord Himself acts on your behalf without human interference, because your silence has already spoken volumes to the heavens, to the angels, and to the unseen forces, establishing your sufficiency in Allah, your alignment with divine timing, and your readiness to receive what He has prepared. And know this: the testimony of your restraint, your patience, and your unwavering trust has reached the heavens before a single word of dua could. And it has ignited the release of blessings, protections, and openings that will manifest in every area of your life. And from this moment forward, your silence is no longer a private act, it is a declaration, a shield, and a vessel of divine acceleration, because Allah honors the patience of the chosen, multiplies the reward of the disciplined, and elevates the servant who chooses to remain silent when the world demands their reaction. And in this, you have not only witnessed His power, you have become a living testimony that silence offered for Allah is more powerful than the loudest dua, more effective than the greatest effort, and more transformative than anything the world can see or measure, because your restraint has already reached the heavens and brought the unseen into alignment with your destiny, long before your words ever left your lips. Chosen one, there comes a sacred, divine-infused point in the journey where Allah is patiently watching, waiting, orchestrating the unseen, and testing not your strength but your willingness to surrender. And at this point, He does not need you to push harder, argue louder, explain more, justify yourself endlessly, or force outcomes through relentless effort, because there are some battles Allah never intended for you to fight alone, and the moment you finally stepped back, released control, and allowed the situation to rest in His hands, the moment you loosened your grip on the tension, the worry, and the compulsion to manipulate results, Allah did not hesitate. He moved with authority, decisiveness, and unseen precision, because surrender is not giving up. It is transferring control to the one whose power is absolute, whose timing is flawless, and whose wisdom is beyond comprehension. And what you did in that moment, though subtle in the eyes of the world, was massive in the unseen. You stopped chasing clarity from people and started trusting clarity from Allah. You stopped reacting emotionally to situations that threatened to destabilize your heart and began responding spiritually. You stopped trying to fix outcomes that were already under divine management, and you released the tension that had been quietly eroding your peace. And that decision, small in appearance but monumental in spiritual impact, activated immediate divine intervention, because Allah only takes over what you release willingly. And when you finally stepped back without bitterness, without resentment, without demanding instant results or visible proof, Allah recognized that your trust had reached maturity, that your patience had ripened, and that your heart was now prepared to carry the consequences of His will with steadiness. Because stepping back is not weakness, it is wisdom, humility, and faith crystallized into action, especially in moments when your soul longed for answers, validation, or immediate justice, yet you chose reliance over resistance, patience over pressure, and faith over fear. And that choice communicated to Allah that you were ready for His way, not merely your preferred outcome. And when Allah steps in, He does not act partially. He restructures situations, reroutes people, exposes what was hidden, shields what was vulnerable, accelerates what was stagnant, and orchestrates outcomes so perfectly that human understanding cannot track the magnitude, sequence, or divine logic behind it. And the quiet shifts you began noticing were the echoes of His unseen hand moving decisively. Because Allah does not require permission from humans to act, only the consent of surrender. And by stepping back, you not only allowed space for His intervention, you also protected yourself from exhaustion, misalignment, and spiritual pitfalls. Because had you continued forcing, struggling, and demanding, you could have triggered doors to open prematurely, blessings to arrive unprepared, or hearts to be swayed in ways that might have compromised barakah. And Allah loves ease that follows trust, more than struggle born from fear, impatience, or ego. And what you are witnessing now is not coincidence, timing error, or luck. It is a consequence, a direct, undeniable outcome of choosing tawakkul over tension, submission over insistence, and divine wisdom over human urgency. And understand this with clarity. Allah did not step in because you were weak, nor because He needed to fix what you could not, but because you were wise enough to stop fighting battles He never assigned to you. And this stepping back elevated you from being a struggler to being supported, from being overwhelmed to being overseen, from being anxious to being anchored. Because Allah supports fully those who relinquish control to Him. And this intervention is not temporary, it is structural, permanent, and transformative, meaning the foundations of your situation, your relationships, your path, and your destiny are being rearranged so that you will not need to repeat the same struggle again. And that is why the blessings tied to this shift carry stability, protection, clarity, and barakah, because they were born from surrender, humility, and trust, not strain, force, or desperation. And going forward, remember this divine law. Every time you step back for Allah, He steps forward for you with authority, precision, and power you could never generate alone. And when Allah moves, outcomes shift faster than perception. Hearts soften in ways impossible to force. Justice is restored more cleanly than any human intervention could achieve. Doors open that were previously sealed. Opportunities align perfectly. Protection manifests in the unseen, and lives intersect in ways that reveal His divine orchestration. And the moment you surrendered, you gave Allah space to work, and He never wastes a single space granted by a heart that trusts fully. And this is the ultimate principle of divine support. Allah will act decisively, swiftly, and favorably on behalf of the one who releases control and relies completely on Him. And what you are experiencing now is only the beginning of that pattern, proof that surrender is not loss, but the gateway to exponential blessing, protection, and destiny-altering elevation. And it is a signal that from this moment onward, every act of patience, every moment of restraint, and every conscious choice to step back will continue to unleash unseen forces working perfectly on your behalf. Because Allah's intervention always comes at the precise moment when your heart, mind, and soul are ready to receive it fully. And that readiness is what transforms mere relief into a permanent shift, mere blessings into lasting elevation, and mere patience into a life forever anchored in divine support, barakah, and unstoppable progress. Because the second you chose trust over control, stepping back over forcing, and obedience over impulse, you opened a channel for Allah to move where no human effort could reach. And that is why this moment is monumental, not because it was visible, but because it was transformative in every unseen dimension of your life, preparing you for rapid, unstoppable, and permanent divine acceleration that will now continue in every aspect of your journey. Chosen one, listen closely. For this is a reality that many hearts never comprehend, a truth that the world cannot teach, and a lesson that only the chosen can truly internalize. Allah's delays are never mistakes. They are never random, and they are never denials of your prayer, effort, or devotion. They are perfect, deliberate calibrations of timing designed to prepare you, purify you, and align you with exactly what you are capable of handling in the fullness of your spiritual, emotional, and intellectual readiness. Because a blessing delivered too early can overwhelm a heart, a success granted prematurely can corrupt a soul, and a responsibility assumed before its appointed time can lead to regret, imbalance, and disruption of divine purpose. And for years, sometimes decades, Allah has been meticulously orchestrating the unseen threads of your life, redirecting paths, refining intentions, testing patience, opening doors of wisdom, closing doors of harm, and shaping your heart in silence, often in ways that felt heavy, unfair, or even cruel through the lens of human perception. Yet every trial, every period of waiting, every unanswered dua, every setback, every moment that felt like delay was not wasted, but rather it was layering preparation, fortifying your character, and readying your spirit for the exact moment when you would be capable of carrying, receiving, and manifesting what Allah intended for you without faltering, without arrogance, without misalignment, and without losing connection to Him. And that moment has now arrived, the moment your heart became sincere enough, your patience matured enough, your trust unwavering enough, your intention purified enough, and your readiness perfectly synchronized with divine timing. And in that instant, the delay vanished, as though it had never existed, because Allah's timing is absolute, precise, and flawless, and the second your readiness intersected with His plan, the gates of divine acceleration opened, unleashing blessings that had been waiting patiently for your preparedness. And what followed was sudden, unstoppable, and perfectly orchestrated in alignment with your destiny. Because readiness is the key that unlocks the floodgates of divine favor, and once that key is turned, every obstacle that delayed you collapses, every misunderstanding is corrected, every stagnant situation begins to move. Every hidden seed planted through hardship and struggle begins to bear fruit, because Allah does not waste a single tear, a single hardship, a single effort, or a single moment of endurance. And all the lessons embedded in your waiting, all the spiritual fortifications built in silence, all the character shaping through trial were activated precisely in this perfect moment, when your heart, mind, and spirit were fully synchronized with divine wisdom, understanding, and preparation. And this synchronization is what transforms delay into victory, suffering into preparation, patience into revelation, waiting into favor, and the seeming pause into a divine launch, because what appeared as absence was actually careful preservation, preparation, and timing. And now that your readiness has arrived, you are no longer in the stage of preparation, testing, or waiting. You are in the stage of unfolding, manifestation, and rapid blessing. And understand this profoundly. When Allah ends the delay, it is not tentative, gradual, or hesitant. It is decisive, transformative, absolute, and beyond human perception, because what was meant for you cannot be stopped, and what was delayed for refinement cannot be wasted. And the moment your heart aligned with His will, every door that had been locked opens effortlessly, every barrier that appeared immovable dissolves, every blessing previously withheld in divine timing flows toward you in a flood of barakah, protection, exponential growth, and divine favor, because Allah's plan is perfect, His timing is precise, His wisdom surpasses every human calculation. And the second your readiness meets His command, the delay ends, the blessing begins, and the acceleration of your life transitions from preparation to manifestation, from patience to reward, from waiting to unstoppable divine unfolding, from endurance to exponential elevation. And this is the ultimate proof of Allah's mercy, love, justice, and precision, that nothing is wasted, nothing is delayed without divine reason. and every single test, moment of silence, trial of patience, and layer of preparation was essential for what is now arriving. And now, with your readiness fully established, you are entering a season where divine promises long held in unseen realms are being released. Your efforts are being multiplied in ways the human eye cannot measure. Your protection is solidified in ways the world cannot perceive. Your opportunities are expanding with precision. Your destiny is aligning with what has been divinely written, and every blessing now arriving carries both the magnitude of preparation and the velocity of perfect timing. Because Allah never delivers what you are not ready to carry, and the delay was never denial, it was preparation, refinement, and alignment. And now that alignment is complete, every divine promise reserved for you is manifesting. Every hidden seed is flowering, and the acceleration of your life is unstoppable. Unstoppable because the one who measures readiness, orchestrates timing, and delivers blessings with absolute wisdom has determined that the moment has arrived, and from this moment forward, your patience, trust, and preparation converge with divine action, creating a reality where delay is over, blessings are flowing, and your destiny unfolds with unstoppable, perfect, divine precision. Because the delay has ended the second you became ready, and readiness has unlocked the floodgates of every promise Allah has reserved for you. Now, in this perfect alignment, chosen one, understand this with your heart wide open, because what has arrived is not a conclusion, it is an announcement, not a peak, but a signal. And what you are witnessing is the very first ripple of a divine wave that Allah has been preparing for you since the beginning, long before you even knew the depth of your purpose, long before the trials, long before the nights of doubt, and long before the moments when it seemed that nothing was moving, because Allah's blessings are never random, and when He moves, He does so in ways that surpass human expectation and comprehension. And what you are experiencing now is the result of years of preparation, purification, patience, and alignment, a divine orchestration that could not have been released a moment earlier, because your heart, your intention, and your readiness had to meet the threshold of trust and maturity that Allah requires for the recipients of sudden elevation. And know this, blessings that arrive rapidly are often harbingers of something far greater, a spiritual acceleration that will touch every aspect of your life, a rearrangement of unseen forces that protects, elevates, and expands your influence in ways you cannot yet fully perceive, because Allah does not give lightly, and when He acts quickly, it means the servant has reached a level of readiness where they can carry increase without losing humility, without being consumed by pride, without forgetting their purpose, without letting the blessings distract them from their ultimate mission. And the suddenness of what has come is a reminder that Allah's timing is perfect, that delays were preparation, and that every hardship, every disappointment, every trial was designed to sharpen you, purify you, and align you with the level of blessing that was never meant for before, because rapid blessings are reserved for hearts that are ready, intentions that are pure, and souls that are anchored in faith. And this is why you are seeing change now, not by your effort alone, but by the will of Allah, who opens doors that no one else can open, shifts circumstances that no one else can move, and accelerates outcomes that no human planning could ever accomplish. And what is unfolding in your life will not be contained to one area alone. It will ripple across relationships, opportunities, spiritual elevation, and your capacity to influence and inspire, because Allah's provision is never limited, and the moment He decides the servant is ready, the increase comes with exponential force, bringing not only material and visible gain, but unseen spiritual fortification, protection from hidden harm, and the alignment of destiny in accordance with divine wisdom. And understand this clearly. The suddenness is intentional, because when Allah wants to move, He does so in a way that makes His power undeniable, His favor unmistakable, and His mercy tangible. And the opening of this door is only the beginning of a season that will redefine your life, not merely in comfort or success, but in purpose, spiritual elevation, and divine responsibility. Because with rapid blessing comes accountability, the need to preserve humility, to maintain sincerity, and to act in ways that reflect the trust Allah has placed in you. And know this: nothing you have endured, nothing you have sacrificed, and nothing you have been patient through has been wasted, because all of it has been constructing a foundation strong enough to support this sudden expansion. And as this blessing moves, it will draw people, opportunities, and circumstances into alignment with your purpose, creating a momentum that cannot be stopped by human doubt, opposition, or interference. And every step you take from this point onward will carry the weight of divine support, because Allah's hand is in every unfolding detail, guiding, protecting, and positioning. And this is why what you see now is only the beginning, because the blessing is not an isolated gift. It is the launch of a season of acceleration, influence, and fulfillment that will touch multiple aspects of your life simultaneously. And the speed at which it moves will serve as a constant reminder that Allah's timing is perfect, that He knows what you are capable of carrying, and that every prior delay, every test, every moment of endurance was a preparation for this divine unfolding. And as this season progresses, you will recognize that every hardship, every pause, and every moment of uncertainty was essential, because without it, you would not have been ready to receive the magnitude of what is now being released. And the reality is that this sudden blessing is the key that will unlock further doors, reveal hidden opportunities, and activate latent potential that has been quietly growing within you, waiting for the exact moment when Allah would say, "Enough delay. Now I will move and you will witness my plan unfold." And that is why you must remain patient, grateful, obedient, and fully conscious of your responsibility, because rapid blessings are accompanied by spiritual accountability, a reminder that they are a trust, not merely a gift. And the way you manage, honor, and preserve this opening will determine how the momentum continues, how barriers dissolve, how hearts align, and how further unseen acceleration manifests. And this is the ultimate sign of Allah's mercy and precision, that what seemed sudden to the human eye was decades in preparation, and what seems overwhelming in speed is carefully orchestrated to ensure your heart, soul, and purpose are elevated in perfect harmony with divine will. And now, as you embrace this beginning, understand that the blessing is only the threshold, the starting point of a journey that will expand in every dimension of your life. And every step from here carries divine support, protection, and guidance. Because when Allah decides to act, nothing can stop Him. And what you have received is the first wave of a reality that will continue to unfold rapidly, decisively, and beautifully, for as long as your heart remains aligned with His guidance, obedience, and love. And this is why this sudden blessing is not an endpoint. It is the signal, the ignition, the commencement of a season where Allah's favor becomes tangible, undeniable, and transformative. And as it flows, it will confirm that every test, every delay, and every moment of endurance was not in vain, because the one who measures time, tests, and readiness has now released what was perfectly preserved for you, and this is only the beginning of what He has planned. Chosen one, now you see the truth. Every moment of waiting, every test, every hardship, every act of obedience, every silent struggle, and every step of trust has led to this very moment, and Allah's blessings are moving faster than your mind can calculate, more precise than your heart can imagine, and more powerful than any obstacle you have faced. What has been released is not random, it is intentional. It is the reward of patience, the fruit of sincerity, and the result of trust perfected through struggle. And yet, remember this, the journey does not end with this blessing. It is only the beginning of a season where Allah's favor, mercy, and guidance will unfold continuously in ways you cannot yet see, because rapid blessings always come with responsibility, humility, and heightened awareness. Guard this gift with obedience, elevate your intention, remain patient in testing, and keep your heart anchored in Allah, for He has chosen you not just to receive, but to manifest, to inspire, to protect, and to elevate the world around you. Today, what you did in silence, in patience, in trust, and in sincerity has released a momentum that cannot be stopped. And as it moves, remember that Allah is watching, guiding, and multiplying every effort, every good intention, and every act of faith. So stand firm, remain grateful, and embrace the acceleration with humility and purpose, because the one who has orchestrated this sudden blessing is already preparing the next phase of your journey, and it is greater, more powerful, and more transformative than anything you could have imagined. Your life is changing, chosen one, and Allah cannot wait any longer to show you His plan. Stay faithful, stay patient, and watch as what He has prepared unfolds with unstoppable divine precision.